I forgot to put a hat on today. I ran out of my hair stuff, and I don't have time to pick it up until Monday. So
You're gonna just look like shit now, like the old
like
days.
shit, yeah.
Remember our videos from the old days when you looked like shit?
yeah, I was up until a few months ago. So should I just wear my hoodie and put the hood up the whole time?
No, it looks fine. Your hair looks good. I don't think it looks any different. Let me look.
Don't say that it doesn't look different, because that's gonna make me.
No, that looks good. Yeah, pull it forward a little bit. That's
All right,
great.
now it
Yeah.
looks better. Okay.
This podcast is brought to you in part by Dragon Shield. Use code PLAYTOWIN5 at the affiliate link down below for 5% off to help support the show.
Welcome to the Play to Win podcast, where we talk about winning in cEDH. I'm Cam.
And I'm Dylan. This week we are talking about the best decks in all of cEDH as of 2026, January.
I can't believe it's 2026,
Crazy,
Dylan.
I
We've
know,
only
yeah.
been talking about it being 2026 for a month.
Yeah, but we are talking about the best decks in the format right now. I think you have 5 written down. We're going to talk about some of the important win lines, what to expect to the top tables of cEDH, basically.
Exactly. So as you're going to a tournament in this new year, this is what you should expect. And this is definitely not just like us trying to do tournament prep for our tournament that's coming up tomorrow.
Right, yeah, exactly. Also, something to note, this isn't a world pre-hexing squelcher that we're talking about these, and I know this is not the Lorwyn set review, but I feel like we should mention the card Hexing Squelcher, because I do think it's going to make an impact on tournament. I know I'm taking over the beginning of this podcast, but I just want to caveat, because I think this card is super powerful. I feel like I see 1,000 people talking about it, and I think it might be neat to share our thoughts, or should we not? Should we just make them wait until the Lorwyn set
I
review?
think we should make them wait, because it's
them
so
wait.
close.
Let's separate our thoughts. Let's talk about
Should we
Lorwyn
talk
next
about
week.
that now?
I don't know. Should we? Should we or should we not? I have a lot of thoughts about this card, but I'm happy to wait until we talk about the Lorwyn cards.
I feel like if I talk about it a lot this week, I'm not going to want to talk about it a lot
Let's make
next
them wait.
week.
Let's make them wait.
I will say, though, everyone is incredibly excited for Lorwyn in particular.
I think the set looks so fucking awesome.
I had a hard time going, fuck the rest of the cards that they haven't spoiled yet. We should just do it a week early. But, like, I feel like we got to give it its due.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we should talk about all of them. So, the Lorwyn set review is going to come out during Lorwyn release, not Lorwyn pre-release, just because of how shit worked out. But the set looks awesome. I feel like it's Magic, like going back to Magic. Do you know what I mean? Like, it feels like a very Magic the Gathering set. It's whimsical and it's fantasy and it's very like Magic's own IP.
Because the last Magic set that we had with Magic's own IP was in space, and like it was cool, but like it didn't feel like Magic.
And there were race cars, and like all the Magic IPs were like not, to me, fantasy, and which is fine.
The Tarkir set was arguably like the only Magic feeling set that we got in 2025.
But I'm a huge fan of this set from top to bottom. I think it's awesome. The art's cool. I think there's powerful cards. I think there's fun cards for, it seems like a decent amount of formats.
I think for every format, yeah. Casual EDH, cEDH, and all of the other 60-card formats.
We'll talk about that set more during our Lorwyn set review, which this is not, because this is the podcast where we are talking about...
This is not the Lorwyn set review.
We are talking about meta cEDH decks right now, the top five? The top 5 cEDH meta decks right now. Which one are we starting with? Let's get into it.
All right, well, let's start with the one that I think we all know we're going to see the most.
Okay.
Which is Tymna
Kraum, Blue Farm. Blue Farm, as it's called, because it was once Mad Farm, because Tymna and Bruise were once farmers and weavers on a farm, and now the farm is blue, and it has Kraum, and it's all the best cards in cEDH. I do kind of want to have a little argument. I think it gets tossed around that it is the best deck in cEDH. I don't really know that that's true. What is 100% true, it is the most popular deck in cEDH. It has the most eyes on it, it has the most resources, it has the most people devoting time to figuring it out. I think that part is true. It being the best deck in the format, I'm not sold on that entirely. I think all 5 of these decks have a good argument for being the best deck in the format, but it is without a doubt the most popular deck in the format. I think partially because it's like easy, and it's not easy. Like there's a lot of nuance to it, but it is pretty straightforward in what the goals of the deck are, right?
It's classic cEDH stuff, you know? Nothing is like a surprise factor. Like the most surprising thing that you'll do in this deck is play a mid-rangey creature that someone might not expect.
Mayhem Devil or something like that.
That's literally one of the cards I have down here, Yeah,
you get like a couple flex slots, and realistically, Blue Farm, what's kind of neat about it is it's very flexible. Blue Farm lists can range between 20 cards. They can be very, very different and still be the same idea of using Tymna, using Kraum, not really trying to use both of them realistically, and just outvaluing your opponent and finding the perfect window and winning with Thassa's Oracle or Underworld Breach or something.
And that's kind of why we never see it fall out of the meta, because it can always be slow if the meta needs to be slow. It can always speed up when the meta speeds up.
And anytime there's a card that's like good in cEDH or powerful in cEDH, Timna Crom oftentimes just can use it the best.
I love my
you wanna
water
go get
way
your
over
water?
there.
It's so distracting. You're looking for the water.
I was like,
I don't know why. I turned into a dog. I'm like, what are you looking for, buddy? What are you looking for? Anytime there's a new card in cEDH, I feel like Blue Farm uses it the best. We're not talking about Hexing Sculpture, but like the best home for that card is Blue Farm, without a doubt. That's the deck that will play that card the best. It's powerful. It's fair when it comes to cEDH. You know what I mean? It's not really doing the most broken thing. It's not the fastest deck, certainly not the slowest, but it's just like the most good cards.
It's the reason why I like good stuff more than I like synergy, because this deck is so popular and so powerful and arguably wins the most cEDH tournaments too. And it's all based around just like the best cards in cEDH winning with the best things and not necessarily having to build some sort of synergistic pile of things that go with your commander. You can just use your commander as the card advantage engine that you need in every single matchup and every single meta.
I think one of the best things too, you talk about like that card advantage that you have, you can mulligan so well. Like we talk about how important mulliganing is for cEDH. This deck can mulligan really low, and no matter what, it has a shitty heuristic study in the command zone. Timna's always there, so if you mulligan to 4 and you find your most important pieces, the things that you want, you also always have card advantage to help draw you out of that mulligan. So like it allows you to be risky in your mulligans and look for the most powerful cards while still feeling safe, being able to rely on that card advantage if you need to.
Because you also play a ton of one card win conditions too, where like you don't need to find 30 different things or like 2 different things even to assemble a combo. All you really need to do is like find Ad Nauseam, find Necropotence, find Intuition, and maybe Give Some Given if you're playing that too.
Yeah, I think Intuition is the big one. I think that's the quiet glue that actually holds this deck together. And it's the reason to be in like White Grixis, which I don't know. I think there's a little bit of an internal argument with me where is Blue Farm White Grixis or is it Red Esper?
Depending on the speed of the format.
Yeah.
I think the faster builds are White Grixis, but then the more that you slow down and you're like, oh, I have room to put Delny in the deck, it starts to get Red Esper.
Right, yeah, it's definitely in that flex zone, but Intuition I think is so powerful because of the nature of cEDH. Everyone's going to talk about you if you're Blue Farm. Everyone's going to say that person's a threat. You have to attack Blue Farm. They're still playing Neko. They're playing Ad Nauseam. You have to attack them. They're the threat, yada, yada. So as the Blue Farm player, you need that backup. You need that way to win the game that doesn't matter about your life total. You need Intuition, which can very neatly put together a win between finding Underworld Breach and Lion's Eye Diamond and Savine's Reclamation and then recasting Intuition from your graveyard, because no matter what, out of that pile that I just mentioned, you'll be able to get Underworld Breach in play and recasting Intuition for Brain Freeze, and you can win the game right from there.
So as long as you have, I think it's 9 cards in your graveyard, it's really easy for you to just win the game on the spot with Intuition, and you'll have 9 cards between like a Dark Ritual you cast early, 2 fetch lands that you sacrifice. Like playing the game of Magic gets you there very easily.
So I think that Intuition is quietly the thing that like makes this deck powerful because you have that backup plan, whereas like maybe decks like Rograkh, another deck that we'll talk about, it doesn't have Intuition. It doesn't have the same late game way to win the game. I mean, we could also talk about Mnemonic Betrayal here, which Rograkh does have.
Yeah, this is another one card win condition that is only available like way late in the game and is not really something you can set up yourself, because you're taking the cards from your opponent's graveyards and you're using them to set up a win. And a lot of times all that is like using their demonic tutors that they used earlier and failed to win with that. You're using their Lotus Petals like I put in the graveyard and the other rituals like Dark Ritual, Rite of Flames that they just have sitting around there. I mean, that's 90% of what they have in their graveyard.
I'm going to be honest with you, and you know this, I fucking hate this card. This is in my list of top 3 worst cards in cEDH, which is Necro Dominance and Wheel of Misfortune and Mnemonic Betrayal. All of them I play in Rograkh. When I say that they're bad, I don't actually mean that they're bad. I hate them because I find them difficult to plan. Necro Dominance is its own thing. You can plan with that one. Just pay 30 life.
Such a bad version of Necropotence.
It's just a bad version of one of my favorite cards.
Yeah.
But Mnemonic Betrayal, I find it so difficult to plan. It's only good if everything has, I don't want to say kind of gone wrong, but like if other wins have been stopped. So like in the early game, it just kind of rots in your hands. But in that end game, when you've exiled all of your win cons, all of a sudden it can be really good.
It's really good for like your mystical tutor target on like turn 8 when you're ready to like go, oh, here's my window. I found everyone had tapped out. But then my problem with it is, which just happened in one of the most recent games we played, is you have to say, well, what cards are in everyone's graveyard?
Because like it's telecast.
Yeah, like I have to let everyone know, and they go, oh, he's just going to cast one spell, and then I can just spell pierce it, and then he's screwed.
Right, yeah. The alternative would be to remember what your opponent's put into their graveyard, but that is so hard to do.
That's so hard to do.
It's easier to do in person for sure to remember what's in your graveyard and to casually look in your graveyard and kind of remember that people have, you can quietly look without bringing attention to it. But over webcam, that is much more difficult.
It's way
to do.
more difficult.
Which is fine. There are cards that are terrible to play on webcam. Magic was not designed to be played across thousands of miles. You know what I mean? Like that's okay.
But it's a cool addition,
right?
DLC to the game,
exactly.
that we have now.
So that's Mnemonic Betrayal. I think it is powerful, and it's another one of the win cons and important pieces that kind of like holds Blue Farm together. But it fucking sucks.
We brought up Mayhem Devil a little bit ago, and I think this is a card that is not seen in Blue Farm a lot, but I've started to see it in a lot more decks more frequently.
It used to be one of my favorite cards in Blood Pod when I used to play Blood Pod. It was a win condition, and it can still be a win condition in some of these decks if you can sacrifice treasures infinitely without actually doing anything else. There are other ways to win the game, but just the fact that it's like a little bit of removal. It's like another Orcish Bowmaster, except rather than drawing a card, it's when they sack their fetch land, or it's when they, I don't know, there's a whole bunch of things that can trigger it, and you can trigger it yourself a whole bunch with Culling the Weak and other rituals that sacrifice your own things. So Mayhem Devil is great. My issue with it is it doesn't really help you. I know I just said it can be a part of a combo, but oftentimes it doesn't help you win the game. It's like kind of just removal for the most part.
That's really what it is. Like there's nothing like a Wheel of Fortune that works with your Orcish Bowmaster that you can use to kind of clutch up a game in a spot by like taking out 2 players at low life totals and then wiping the board as well.
Right, yeah. I mean, there are things that in Dargo where you can make Mayhem Devil into a win con, and in those situations, I think Mayhem Devil is incredible. When it can go both ways, that's when a card is really powerful.
You're right, but this is Blue Farm, though.
Which, as far as I'm aware of, I don't think there's a way to do that. Now, I'm sure there's some sort of thing with Underworld Breach where you could probably create like near infinite sacrifices, but at that point, you're probably able to brain freeze. Maybe there's something that we're missing or I'm not aware of.
I think it's more like, what's the second most thing that your opponents do in a game of cEDH?
Cast spells.
That isn't draw cards. Yeah. Oh, cast spells. Oh, shit. Okay. What's
the heuristic study so good?
Yeah. Okay. Shit. Okay. What's the third most popular thing that people are going to do?
That's the third most popular thing.
Yeah, like
okay,
action
I'll bite. Probably
take.
Sacrificing permanents.
Boom, there we go. Yeah. So if you pair that with the second most taken action, which is drawing cards, and pair that up with the third most taken action, which is sacrificing something, that means that you just have like a lot more damage that's getting stacked. So now we just need a card that says whenever your opponent casts a spell, deal a damage to a creature or any target.
Do we have whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, you draw a card? Does that card exist? Like whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, you draw a card. That's kind of Corvold, but only for you. I'm talking about for other people too. Does such a card, it would be so much mana. If Corvold is 5 mana and only does it for yourself, if it would include everyone, if it exists, I'm sure it's 1,000 mana.
Whenever, I know Fecundity says whenever a creature dies, its owner draws a card.
Terrible, not good. I want to draw the cards. The card doesn't exist.
So like
probably.
something where like if your opponent sacrifices something, then you get to draw a card.
We're talking about, I don't know why I brought up, I think 2 weeks in a row, fantasy cards. This is not normally a thing that I've done, but that is something that I want.
Maybe this is something that you're getting into. Is like
a new segment of like
card design.
Cards. Well, unfortunately, we have some Wizards employees that listen to the podcast, so we should put a big spoiler when we're pretending about cards because they're not allowed to see that. Which
and if we speak anything into existence, that means that they
can't make it now.
They can't make
it now. Yeah, cut all this. Just bleep and blur out everything that I just said about the fake card.
Damn, I'm really sad about the Commander Flash card that we talked about a little bit ago because that was genius.
Yeah, now it'll never happen.
But if they hire me, then I can make it.
Then you can say, yeah, you have my idea. I'll give it to you. Or we can just say that. I declare it right now. If Wizards, if you get a good idea from us, I will... No, I
would sign a contract for $0.
Yeah.
Just so that I can design that one card.
Yes, we'll do that. Yeah, we'll do that.
I mean, the contract also has to say like a lot of other things too.
Yeah, like what?
Like, well, my image gets to be on the card too, and they
Your
can't
name.
ever come back to me. Yeah, and they're allowed to reprint it in every set.
Every set.
They
must actually reprint it in every set.
Yeah.
And it says play to win, youtube.com/play to win on the bottom of all of them. It has our QR code. And they must print it every set.
I think people will start to hate me.
Yeah.
All right, I'm not going to do that. Instead,
are there anything else to talk about for Blue Farm? Should we talk about any other card specifics?
Just that the decks are getting a little bit faster. I think Grinding Station is the main notable way that these decks are getting a little bit faster. Just like another way to help them win the game and help them piece these combos together. Because Grinding Station plus Lion's Eye Diamond plus Underworld Breach is basically mill your deck until you find the combo that you need to win the game, or just Thassa's Oracle and win the game with that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can mill until you find just Thassa's Thassa's Oracle, and then you'll have enough to sacrifice Lion's Eye Diamond for 3 blue and cast Thassa's Oracle. Yeah, Grinding Station's great. I just fucked this one up in a gameplay recently because I was playing Grinding Station in a Mardu deck, and I did my math all wrong, and it is a little bit tricky, I'll be honest. But in most situations, it does work as basically the same thing as Brain Freeze. At least that's the thought. It should.
In Mardu, it's more like you have to be built up a little bit more so that way it's kind of like a weird tainted pact where like you're just kind of like going through your deck until you find all of the cards that you need to win the game. And then that way you can go from there.
Yeah,
but
you don't really net cards. You don't net additional cards. You keep the same amount of cards in your graveyard, and then you just like grind through your graveyard. And effectively, you just like exile them directly.
So it's aptly named.
Grinding Station is, it's great. I love Grinding Station in Blue Farm and in other decks.
Blue Farm's already won a tournament in 2026, so that's pretty freaking sweet.
Yeah.
Kinnan.
We've seen a lot of Kinnan in our days.
We have seen a lot of Kinnan in our days. And I'll tell you what, I think a lot of other people have seen a lot of Kinnan in their days too, based on the fact that it's like the second most played deck in cEDH.
I think it's like obviously it is like one of the most popular single commanders. It's one of the most powerful single commanders we have besides partners. But yeah, Kinnan's just so good. And I feel like it can evolve so much. It can change depending on what the meta is. It can be a turbo-ristic study deck. It can be a big flips deck. It can dominate mid-range. It can hang with the turbo decks if it wants to. It can kind of be molded to do whatever you want because like at its core what it is near infinite mana, an option for actual infinite mana, and then also something to do with that infinite mana. It's just so good across the board, and it's only 2 mana.
That's the thing, yeah, and having a 1-card win condition with your Commander 2 in Basalt Monolith also makes it so easy to combo off. I mean, that just makes infinite colorless mana since Basalt Monolith's tapping for more mana now that it needs to untap, but now there's like, other cards that you could play to make that infinite color mana now too, because you can play Mirage Mirror, which has this really weird way of using the infinite mana to copy one of your lands or another mana rock that can tap for colors of mana, and then that way it becomes that when it goes to untap and then tap it again, and then but then like you also have to like untap it.
There's like a line you have to say it like a spell. I'm gonna continue to tap, mirror, and this back and forth alternate. Like there's a way that you can say it that will make it so that you can basically untap it, tap it for a mana with the land, make it a copy of something else, untap it, tap it with the land, make it a copy of something else.
And then Treasure Vault got printed and people just went, oh shit,
this is easier.
This is easier. I can play 15 copies of it too because like crop rotation goes and gets it as well.
Yeah, Treasure Vault was such a good include for Kinnan because it allowed you to turn that infinite colors mana
into 50% of infinite colors mana.
Yeah, which is still infinite, and you get all of it in treasures, which means you can activate Kinnan over and over again until you find...
Oh wait, that is still the same amount of mana. Half of infinite.
Still infinite.
Even if it's half of infinite, they all still tap for double. Well, you still have to name a number. It's not infinite. You have to say a number. So if you have 69,420,000 colorless mana, and you take half of that and put that into Treasure Vault, your treasures are still tapping for 69,420,000 mana because of Kinnan.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was a stupid waste of time.
Very good. Yes. But yeah, Treasure Vault makes it a lot easier. You can activate Kinnan over and over again. You can find Thrasios. Then you can just draw through your deck. And then normally the way that you actually win the game, or at least the way that I see Kinnan players actually win the game, is with Fairy Mastermind and making everyone draw their deck and then using Endurance over and over again to put cards back in the library after there's like all of their creatures in play with like Tidespout Tyrants. Not that one exactly, but Hullbreaker Horror or whatever else, right?
That way they can bounce all of your stuff and then also be able to interact at instant speed because they've also found their Valley Flood Caller as well. So even if you go, you're drawing me out, you're going to draw my interaction, they can still respond to everything else that you're doing. You're not going to have a chance. Just scoop and go to your next game.
Right, yeah. And I think that's another one of the great things about Kinnan is it's great at winning on the stack. It's great at winning at instant speed. There are so many ways that it can play Valley Flood Caller and it can tutor for Emergence Zone if it needs to, or it can do so many things just by activating Kinnan over and over again. And oh, there's Thrasios. I already have the infinite mana and a Seedborn Muse, and there was just no reason for me to push there because the Kinnan player can wait until the next player's upkeep. They have all this mana that will untap with Seedborn Muse, and they'll be in a better spot on your turn than they are on their turn. And that ability to just win whenever is so powerful in cEDH.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And this deck did not need Badger Mole Cub.
Oh, dude.
Just like a Kinnan in your 99 now, too.
It makes it insane because now your Dorks, if you have the Badger Mole and Kinnan out, your Dorks will tap for 3 mana now.
Which is like way cheaper than Nyx Bloom Ancient, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. It's a 2-mana Nyx agent. Like, not really, but like
That's the way that it plays with your mana dorks, though.
yeah. And dude, that Badgermole Cub, just it seems the more and more I see it and play with it, the more broken it is. It ups your Gaia's Cradle count. It does all these little things. And in decks that are already doing that stuff, that are just like, I want to make as much mana as possible. I want to use Gaia's Cradle. I want to use creatures, like Badgermole is just so insane for.
So good, yeah. That, and then there's a list that won a tournament this year already that's on Freed from the Real again, which like also kind of makes sense because just like any dork in your deck plus Kinnan and this is infinite mana.
Right? Yeah, that's what it is, right?
Well, I
it's
guess
infinite
not any
taps.
dork.
You need one that can tap for 3 total, I think, right?
It's only 1 blue to untap.
It's only 1 blue to untap.
So if you put it on your...
Because if you do it on like a Fintorn Elves, it's only infinite green.
You're right. Well, it's not even infinite green because you can't make the blue. So it has to be like
on
Birds of Paradise.
Or like a Bloom Tender.
Or like a Bloom Tender.
Yeah.
So it's not as easy to put together as I thought, but it's still easy to put together.
Right, yeah. I've never loved that one, but it's just another one. It's just another thing, and it works well with your untapping stuff. Like, I get it. I get the reason to include it, to just like have another win con. I think that's fine in a deck like Kinnan, of just like you want more ways to just be able to win the game. I don't think it's necessary, but I think it's cool that it's included.
Is it better than Ouroboros Breezecaller? And doing Gaia's Cradle, Talon Gates of Madara, and Ouroboros Breezecaller loops.
I don't know. Well, with the Freed from the Real, you have to wait. Your thing has to not have Summoning Sick. I don't like that.
Which it will always not have Summoning Sick. Like, if your combo piece is a mana dork, your idea, especially in Kinnan, is to try to get that down as soon as possible.
That's true.
I think most of the time, your play pattern is not play dork, play Freed from the Real on it, because this is how this went in this turn cycle.
That's true. But Ouroboros Breezecaller doesn't need it. So it just strictly gives you more options, because you can wait a turn, or you can just do it right whenever you want.
I guess that is true.
But Ouroboros Breezecaller doesn't tap for mana in the early game. It's bad in the early game. It doesn't do anything in the early game.
It's only a combo piece.
Only a combo piece.
So Freed from the Real is,
right,
though.
but also so is Freed from the Real, right? Whereas Gaia's Cradle, you always want to have kind of in either situation. And Talon Gates can be clunky. Talon Gates can be clunky if you get it early,
and
right?
it is a lot of creatures you need in play for the Ouroboros Breezecaller stuff to go on.
In Kinnan specifically, I think they are close in power level. In something like another deck like Rograkh Thrasios, I think the Ouroboros Breezecaller line is much better.
I would never try to put Freed from the Real in Rograkh Thrasios.
Exactly, yeah,
for sure.
Whereas Freed from the Real makes a lot more sense in Kinnan, I guess.
And only works because I think most of the time you're planning on having one of those mana dorks in play that can tap for blue. You know what? There's a lot more dorks that can tap for blue now, too.
Oh, they play like the 2-mana ones or something?
I'm also getting a lot of the cards in the list confused with cards that are in the Rograkh Thrasios list that we're going to talk about soon. But I also forgot that Enduring Vitality lets any of your creatures get freed from the Real then, too.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, and Enduring Vitality, I have found from Kinnan pilots, that's the first thing that they're going to get every single game.
Every time.
Every game they're tutoring for that one
sunnings for 5.
Nope.
They are always now for 3.
Because with Kinnan specifically, Enduring Vitality is insane. It's normally free. The mana that you get back from it pays for it right away, and then after that, you just net so much mana and allows you to snowball so quickly, and it's unkillable. Like, you know, they could pen 2 removal spells on it, but they're not going to.
The other removal spell, like, has to be enchantment removal spell, too.
The fact that it dies and comes back means that, like, they're never gonna kill it.
Exactly.
They're never gonna even point anything at it, because they would have to have 2 things, which is kind of rare to have 2 pieces of interaction. And the only way they're gonna do that probably is to talk with the other players, and like, not a good idea. And then, like, not only that, but you can Eldritch Evolution it away, and then it comes back as a creature, and you go find your Seedborn Muse.
And then you don't even have to. Oh, God.
And then it's still there. It still makes mana.
I hate that. Yeah, so then you're like, oh, well, I guess we have to get rid of the Kinnan then. Because now if we can't get rid of the Enduring Vitality, I have to get rid of the thing that's going to make the Enduring Vitality busted. But now they just have
so much
creatures
mana.
that can make mana.
They have so much.
So cheap, you just replay it.
And I've always said you have to kill the Kinnan, but realistically, like, it becomes so easy for them to just like recast Kinnan.
You have to kill the Kinnan and then slam Drannith Magistrate and then rip all of their cards in half. That's the only way you can stop them.
Yeah. Realistically, I do think it is a good strategy to just keep on killing Kinnan, because if they have to reinvest their mana into casting Kinnan again, that means that they don't have more mana to do other stuff. So it is a good thing, but it's a great way to lose to one of the other players. So like spending removal to kill Kinnan over and over again is what I would tell you to do, because I'm not the one playing Kinnan, Tyler is, and I would tell you to not do that so that I can win afterwards with Sisay or something like that. So like, it's really tough, but if you want to stop Kinnan, that's the way to do it. Kill Kinnan over and again.
Kill Kinnan over and over again, which is also harder to do because they're playing a lot of free interaction. Like even Disrupting Shoal is seeing play in this deck now too. But the one last card I really want to talk talk about is that there's a new avatar card that this Kinnan deck was playing too, which is Bender's Water Skin, which you might think is actually a card from the Futurama set, but it is not.
Nice.
This is a 3-mana artifact that untaps during each other player's untap step, and it just taps for a mana of any color.
Oh, yeah. I guess that's fine in Kinnan.
So essentially, it's 8 mana a turn cycle.
Yeah, if you can use it all. It's like its own weird mini Seedburn Muse Mana Rock type of thing.
It kind of makes it so that if you have 12 mana, you can still get like 2 Kinnan activations on this turn cycle, just at different times.
Yeah. If you have like 10 mana, you can activate Kinnan twice
Still,
over 2 turns if you can split it up exactly, because you have 5 and 2 and then 5 and 2 again.
Exactly. Yes. Which is a lot of mana. That's 3 mana to ramp you.
Kind of interesting.
4 mana.
And normally in that same amount of time, with 10 mana, you can only activate Kinnan 1 time. So like that, I could see that being relevant.
Dude, you're never tapped out. You're never tapped out. Which is
That's
like
nice too.
Insanely threatening. I always have Flusterstorm. I always have mana drain up. You can always be threatening too.
In Kinnan specifically, it taps right away for 2 mana in Kinnan, and then it's 2 mana turn. It makes sense there. I don't know that this is a card that's going to go in other decks, but you're right. The being able to always have a mana untapped, that's really nice.
No one ever feels like they'll have a window.
Yeah.
Even if you have nothing, if you play smart and you can like kind of bluff on other players' turns and don't make it obvious when you don't have something, being perpetually untapped with 2 mana is disgusting. It means you can always leave up Beseiju. If you have a second legendary creature in play, you can be leaving up Otawara. I mean, I could keep listing a bunch of different cards.
Things you could do with 2 mana.
But like that's so versatile in this deck.
I love it. Yeah, I'm in. I think this card's sweet. Yeah.
You can use it to like Worldly Tutor on 1 turn, and then on the next turn when it untaps, use like your now 9 mana because you didn't have enough for a second Kinnan activation. Get that thing that you Worldly Tutored all in the same turn cycle then too.
Is it a trigger? Is it a trigger?
It's a trigger.
It's a trigger.
No, it's not. Untap this artifact during each other player's untap step.
So it's like Seedborn Muse.
Okay.
So it can't be like abused
responded to. Yeah.
You can like clone it too. Like in Kinnan, like you're playing stuff like Phyrexian Metamorphs.
For sure,
and
you
then you
are.
have 4 mana each turn, which is like a Thrasios activation each turn.
It is very interesting, and the more that I think about it, the more I like it. I kind of want to tell Tyler about this, see if he's thought about this one at all.
We should. Yeah, I'm into it. I like this card. Kinnan's great.
Like Tyler hasn't heard of a Kinnan card that
I know about this one. Don't worry. Any other cards you want to talk about from Kinnan?
Hidden Strings is the only other one that was in here that I thought was worth talking about.
Yeah, what does this card do? I know it untaps stuff, but how does it do it multiple times?
So it's 1 in a blue for a sorcery that says you may tap or untap target permanent, then you may tap or untap another target permanent. That's nuts. This is a 2 mana ritual in this deck already.
2 mana to untap 2 permanents is something I can do?
Yes.
Right off the bat.
Yes, right off the bat. And then you cipher it, which is something that nobody knows. After you cast it, then you may exile the spell encoded on a creature you control. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player, its controller may cast a copy of the encoded card without paying its mana cost.
You can untap the same thing twice?
No, it's another.
And it's any permanent?
But it's any permanent.
Any
so
permanent.
You can choose Gaia's Cradle and Mox Diamond.
Okay. It's a ritual. It's just a bunch of mana. If it's with 2 Kinnan permanents, like 2 Birds Paradise, that's not, you know what I mean, but you tap for 4, you cast this for 2 mana, you have 2 floating, you untap, you tap those again, you have 6 mana. It's a pretty good rate. And if you can cipher it on something right away and use the mana right away, that's like a whole bunch of mana you can get all right away.
Now you do cast the copy of it, so it does.
Feeds Rhystic.
Yeah, it feeds Rhystics and like it ups your Mind Break trap ability too. But you're making so much mana, you'll pay for that Rhystic, or who gives a shit? Because I get to do something else too with this mana.
The ciphered thing when they deal combat damage or when they attack?
No, it's combat damage. So you can't just like put this on Birds of Paradise and go the encoded cards on Birds, and I can connect right away. I don't even know that you have a lot of good creatures that this isn't going to feel like Win Mori on. You know what? Maybe like a Mockingbird or a Fairy Mastermind. There's some stuff.
There's some evasive creatures.
There's some stuff, but I feel like even just being a 2 mana ramp you to 4 mana spell, like I'm jealous Atali can't do that.
Yeah, it does have potential. I see it. To me, it feels like the floor is low. There's a chance that this is going to be dog shit, and I don't like that because there's so many other cards that are always good, and if there's a chance that this card is not good, I don't like that. But the ceiling does seem seem kind of high. It can make you like 8 mana.
I think it's going to be like 90% of the time good, 10% of the time going to be dead. Like, I want this more like something that I draw into when I have like Nezahal stuck in my hand. And I go, oh shit, I can cast Nezahal all of a sudden. And then go, boom, here we go, I'm back into this game. I feel like it does that to you a lot.
That's true, yeah. It can make some of your bad hands a little bit better. Yeah, I like that. Kinnan, powerful deck in cEDH, one of the most in all of... Should we talk about the next deck? Because I feel like we've been talking a while.
In all of what?
cEDH. I'm just moving on.
Yeah, no, we should. Yeah. Oh my God.
It's been like a half hour.
Yeah, well, those are the decks that I actually had the most to talk about.
Perfect. We can breeze through the other.
Rograkh Thrasios is a deck that, no matter whose hands it is in, it is going to win games and fucking crush you.
Yeah. Rograkh Thrasios is great. You use Rograkh to be a cheap creature early. You use Thrasios to dump a whole bunch of mana in. You're using Gaia's Cradle and everything in the world that can become a copy of Gaia's Cradle, or untap your Gaia's Cradle more commonly, or be another version of Gaia's Cradle, and you just make as much mana as possible and then dump a lot of that mana into Thrasios and eventually win the game.
It feels like Red Kinnan. Realistically, it's just like every way to make mana, every way to have like some sort of advantage, and instead of playing big things, you're splashing red for slightly better interaction and win conditions than 2.
Yeah, there's like 2 different versions of the list. One of the versions splashes red for like Underworld Breach and Song of Creation, maybe Gamble or something like that. And then there are other versions that splash red for basically Rograkh and like Deflecting Swat. And there's like a completely Simic version that has no red spells in it whatsoever that are actually castable besides Flare of Duplication and Deflecting Swat. Now, I think the ones with Underworld Breach and Song of Creation win more tournaments and do better.
I think some are falling off of Song of Creation a little bit now, but I saw like Gut Shot was in Sam Black's list.
Yeah, Gut Shot's a cool one.
I think that one's super sweet. I just love Gut Shot. But again, that's not a red pip though.
Right, not a red pip. It can be once you get into an end state where you can make infinite mana and you can loop it with Eternal Witness and something else, and there's like a way to ping the table basically infinitely with maybe Displacer Kitten or something.
Which you could do with Lightning Bolt too.
You could, yeah.
Gut Shot just is free, just better
free otherwise,
than the versatility of Lightning Bolt.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. I like both. Maybe he was on both.
Yeah, we could see.
Yeah, no Lightning Bolt, but Gut Shot.
Yeah, Gut Shot's free. Free is good.
It's free, and a lot of times maybe you just need the one. No, I don't know that this deck has a lot of good stuff that you want to blink all the time.
I know for a while there was a lot that were trying to just blink the fairy, the one that untaps 2 lands.
Cloud of Fairies.
Cloud of Fairies is quietly also, I've talked about some quiet glue so far. Cloud of Fairies, I feel, is some of the quiet glue that actually holds this Rograkh Thrasios deck together.
Yeah, I can't find a way that like it combos in the deck, but it's just like a strong enough ritual with your Cradle that like it ends up making you 15 mana. Yeah, I don't see anything that says bounce a creature or return a creature. Like, I know that Snap and Gaia's Cradle and Eternal Witness is an infinite mana loop because you can snap your Eternal Witness back to your hand and then untap a land that makes blue and your Gaia's Cradle so that your Gaia's Cradle can tap and recast your Eternal Witness, get back Snap, and then use your Gaia's Cradle mana and the blue mana you untapped to re-snap your Eternal Witness and make infinite green mana this way. I could not find a line that included Cloud of Fairies that made sense.
Yeah, interesting.
I think it ends up just being a value creature, and that maybe if Displacer Kitten had more good things to blink besides just Cloud of Fairies and Eternal Witness, maybe that's something that they would go. But Spellseeker's also nuts.
Spellseeker's also nuts.
Fuck. Yeah. Huh.
Spellseeker, I feel like, is a little bit part of the chain of like you use Spellseeker, and if you already have a bunch of mana, you can go find Snap, and then you bounce the Spellseeker back to your hand, and you untap your Gaia's Cradle, and you tap it for a bunch more mana, and you cast Spellseeker again, and you go find, some other bounce spell.
We are looking at Sam Black's list, and he is a big innovator on this deck, so I think he also needs to find cuts to try out some other cards like Gene Pollinator and Cabbage Man too.
Yeah, there's a lot of different versions to play this deck, and I firmly believe its tournament's results speak for itself. It is firmly one of the 5 best decks in cEDH right now. If you want to do big mana stuff, it's either this or Kinnan, and Kinnan does it with permanents and mana dorks and mana rocks, and this deck does it with basically Gaia's Cradle, and every way you can use Gaia's Cradle over and over again.
Exactly, yeah. Rograkh Silas. Actually, the next 2 decks we're going to talk about are both Dylan decks, interestingly enough. Yeah,
Roxai.
This one you're definitely going to see because this is the premier turbo deck of the format, and as I still believe the format's going to speed up, I think Roxai's popularity is also going to increase too.
Yeah, Roxai does a similar thing, not really, but a similar thing that Rograkh Thrasios does, which is just get Rograkh out early and just exploit the fact that a free creature is really, really, really good.
Yeah, instead of keeping him in play, though, you're getting rid of him all the time.
You're using stuff like Culling the Weak and Diabolic Intent. Is that the 4-mana one?
No, that's the 2-mana one.
Right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Infernal Plunge, other things that sacrifice Rograkh for quick bursts of mana rather than using Gaia's Cradle to add to your mana count. Roxai is extremely powerful because I think it's just the best Necro / Ad Nauseam deck in the format.
I would definitely agree. Yeah, and I think it's leaning more towards Necropotence cadence now where like you're leaning more in on Valley Floodcaller and Born Upon the Wind effects so that way you can draw a ton of cards in your end step and then win on your end step with pretty much the same means that Blue Farm is trying to win with. You just have a couple of fewer ways to find them, but you're more aggressive about finding them.
Yeah, more aggressive in your mulligans. The big difference, I think, between Blue Farm and Rograkh is that Blue Farm normally just has more advantage pieces. It has more things like
Fairy Mastermind,
Professional Facebreaker. There's more Hexing Squelcher stuff that we could talk about here.
Yeah, well, because Rograkh Thrasios was going to play that card too.
Probably, yeah. Rograkh Thrasios would play it. Yeah, Rograkh is probably going to play it too. But we're not going to tell you what it does. That's for next week.
Yeah,
that's for the Lorwyn podcast. But yeah, Rograkh, yeah, it's the fastest, most consistent deck in the format. I think there's a good argument that Atali is just about as good as Rograkh, which is crazy because I play Rograkh, but I feel like I lose to Atali a ton, like on turn 2 really consistently, and Rograkh sometimes feels kind of inconsistent to me. But nonetheless, the results show that Rograkh
That's funny because I also feel like Atali's consistency, like I can consistently push on turn 2.
Right, yeah.
That does not mean that I win consistently on turn 2.
Someone might have anything. And I think that's the big difference in Rograkh, and I think maybe why people like it as the turbo deck of choice for tournaments. You do have interaction. You have Force of Will, you have Pact of Negation, you have a couple of free ways to protect your turn 2 and turn 1 wins.
But you arguably also have more ways to come back too. The one card win conditions in Rograkh Silas also include like Praetor's Grasp, Rhystic Study, Wheel of Fortune, Mnemonic Betrayal. Like Wheel of Fortune, yeah, I play that in Atali, but like I have to spend 3 mana and then try to get back up to 9 mana by the time that's my plan. Whereas like in Rograkh Silas, any of these cards that you cast are setting you up so that you can win in that same turn normally. The Praetor's Grasp is just like there as your last ditch effort because you lost all of these other things.
Right, yeah, exactly. Praetor's Grasp can go find somebody else's Underworld Breach, and once I cast their Underworld Breach, then I can use it like it's my own.
But like Rhystic Study in Rograkh is just like all of your cards are so strong that if you can get anywhere with Rhystic Study, it can get you back into games.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of weird to look at Rhystic Study as a win con, but in Rograkh, it kind of can be a turn 1 Rhystic Study. If you can draw 10 cards, normally Rograkh can put a win together with 10 cards. If you have access to 10 cards, you just have so many rituals and so many mana and so many ways to just like put Underworld Breach on the stack and then reuse all the stuff that you just used. You know what I mean? If you can make 5 mana, cast Breach, make another 5 mana, a lot of times you can cast 1 tutor and win the game from there.
Yeah, and I know that turn 1 Rhystic Study is so good, right? But like I think it's better in Rograkh than any of the other decks that we talked about because your card quality is also so much more efficient than all these other decks then too. Like Blue Farm, yeah, it's really good. You're going to draw a lot of good cards, but when you draw Mayhem Devil early in the game and you're like, oh, this is not like when I want to see the Mayhem Devil right now, there's going to be a lot more clunky draws that you find in every other deck that's not Rograkh.
The efficiency, I think, is a big part of it, is no matter what, you have a mana advantage over everyone. This is one of the reasons why Rograkh Thrasios is so good, why Kinnan is so good, because they have always just mana advantage over your opponents. If you have 6 when they have 4, you have the ability to do more stuff. You have more options. They can cast 1 thing, whereas you can cast 2. And if you can replicate that over and over again, that's how you win the game, because for every 1 thing that they do, you can do 2 things. It grows exponentially.
It's way more exponential than that, I feel like, in Rograkh. It's like if you can do 4 things on turn 1, then you can win the game on turn 2.
Yeah, exactly. Because of things like Ad Nauseam and Necropotence and Necrodominance, and even the Wheel of Fortune, drawing between 7 to 20 to 30 cards, you basically slingshot the entire game into just like the first 2 turns. And you say, I'm going to have my entire 8 turns of this Commander game just on the first 2 turns of the game, while everyone else is still having their second turn of the game.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like the counterplay to that is kind of like the same thing. Every time we talk about how to stop Atali, it's the same thing as how to stop this deck too. You need to have your card advantage so that you can get fed off of the countless spells they're going to cast, but you also need to have interaction at some point to stop them too. And the only harder part about this is that you have the interaction in Rograkh to interact with the interaction coming at you.
And the important part in the Rograkh player is sometimes you will feed them cards after you've drawn your cards, which is why like the timing of it is relevant. Say they do have a Rhystic Study but no card advantage, and I get to resolve my Necropotence because they haven't drawn any cards yet, because I just cast the 1 spell, they draw 1 card and they haven't found it. Now with my Necropotence in play, I get to draw 30 cards, and then yeah, I am going to feed you 10 cards along the way as I put my win con together, but I've drawn 30 cards, so 2 of those cards are probably counterspell, so I can fight the 1 or 2 Force of Will or Pact of Negation type things that you draw.
That you still have to find. You have to rely on finding.
Right, whereas I drew 30 cards. Most of the effects in my deck, there are 3 versions of it. So if I draw a third of my deck, I'm going to find one of the versions of most of the shit, right? It mathematically works out. So you have to, all this to say, counter the Necropotence and Necrodominance, unless you're playing against me, and I'll tell you that I'm just going to draw 5 cards on this end step, and that's it. Don't kill it. is what I would say.
And you should listen to us.
Yeah, you should listen to us.
The last deck we're going to talk about is Sisay.
Sisay?
This deck worked its way into the top 5, and I think it's just because it is so difficult to figure out for a lot of other players because there's so many things that it can do.
Yeah.
However, they all end up being based around the same thing.
They're all very similar. You can put all of the different stuff in different categories. I'll rat out all the Sisay players right now and tell you how Sisay is winning the game. The first thing that you need is either Bloomtender or Fabor Elder or Selvala or a Gaia's Cradle and Agatha's Soul Cauldron and like a bunch of creatures, like 4 or 5.
So you need like one of those things?
You need one of those things to win the game.
Okay, and the Gaia's Cradle thing is included in the Agatha's Soul Cauldron, but everything else is one singular thing.
It's just the one singular thing.
Just wanted to make sure that I got you there.
Because Agatha's Soul Cauldron means that you can activate abilities with mana of any color, basically.
So that's why the Gaia's Cradle needs to be able to tap for Wooburg, basically.
Yeah, everything is like it depends. Everything in the Sisay category is like an asterisk. So like normally if your Gaia's Cradle can tap for 4 mana and you also have an additional mana, you can activate right away if you have the Agatha's Soul Cauldron out to activate Sisay because you have the 4 Gaia's Cradle and the 1. And then through a chain of finding Derevi and Sakashima and Deadpool, you can make enough mana to find Emil and have infinite mana at that point.
So you don't need to be set up with Wooburg right away or like Gaia's Cradle with 4 creatures and Agatha's Soul Cauldron
and an extra mana
right away. You can build your way by building up your pip requirements.
Exactly.
Then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Bloomtender doesn't need to tap for 5 right away. So you have like Sisay out and Bloomtender can tap for Abzan and Sisay can go find a 2-drop. You would need 3 additional mana plus what Bloomtender can tap for to win the game. Because if you were to tap Bloomtender for the Abzan and 2 of your extra mana, like the blue and the red, to activate Sisay, and you go and find Derevi and untap the Bloomtender. Now Bloomtender taps for 4 colors because you added the blue to the mix. So Bloomtender taps for 4, and you have your extra mana from the 3 that I said earlier, which taps for a red, and you go find Deadpool. And then Deadpool comes in as a copy or as a switch text box with Derevi.
Shoop, shoop.
Shoop, shoop, to untap the Bloomtender. Now Bloomtender taps for a Wooburg. And then now through an assortment of finding Tyvar into untapping your Bloomtender again and finding Iorith, untapping your Bloomtender again and finding Sakashima to copy your Iorith, untapping Bloomtender again and finding Marvin to have a copy of it. You can get to a point where you make infinite mana from this, basically. All this to say, that's an example of you don't need the Bloomtender or the Fabor Elder to tap for Wooburg right away. You just kind of like have to make the difference up in your other mana to be able to win it.
So there's never a point where Bloomtender's in play and you can go, that's okay for this turn. You have to get rid of Bloomtenders as soon as possible.
Yeah, see, well, from the other player's perspective, yeah, get rid of Bloomtender
that's
right away.
That's what I'm saying. If you're playing
yeah.
against the Sisay deck, you can never go, well, he's not going to be able to make Wooburg on this turn, so I don't need to worry about it. You can climb to Wooburg very easily.
Yeah. The main ways to do that are either, from what I've seen, either through Derevi or Tyvar. So you're either adding Bant to your color combinations, untapping and then finding Deadpool, and then between Deadpool and Derevi, you have all 5 colors, or you're doing it with Tyvar and you're finding Iorith and you're doing it that way because Tyvar is your other like main untapper. That's like the second piece to the Sisay line. Right now, the ones that I'm playing are either Tyvar or Derevi. There are other things that do that, like Iorith is an untapper.
But she also needs Tyvar in play already, though, because she can't have haste.
Because she doesn't have haste, but Tyvar gives tapping creatures the ability to tap as though they had haste. So she's the second one.
So somewhere in there, you have to get Marvin then, too, though, right? Because then that way you can start untapping your Iorith and then untapping Iorith to untap Marvin, and then that way you're also untapping Bloomtender within there, too?
Bloomtender to go to Tyvar.
Yeah.
You use Tyvar to untap the Bloomtender. You activate again to go find Iorith. The Iorith can untap a permanent or 2 legendary creatures. So you tap the Iorith to untap the Bloomtender. You activate again, you go find Marvin. Marvin has activated abilities of all other things. So you activate Marvin to untap the Bloomtender. You activate the Bloomtender again, and you go find Sakashima. And you have Sakashima coming as a copy of Iorith.
Okay.
Sakashima Iorith, untap the real Iorith and the Marvin. You have the Iorith untap the Bloomtender, and then you have the Marvin, untap the Iorith and the Sakashima.
I see.
Then you have a Sakashima and an Iorith untapped. You tap the Bloomtender for mana, then you use the 1 Iorith to untap the Bloomtender, and the 2nd Iorith to untap the Sakashima and the Marvin.
That makes a lot more sense. I was just getting stuck in my head on that, but there is a way to win with Bloomtender that I was not thinking that you can do. You just need 3 versions of Iorith, basically, to do that, versus if you have Selvala and that extra green once, you only need 2 versions of Iorith because you can start untapping the other Iorith and the Selvala, and they're just making mana in there, too. They're not the same line. They're 2 different lines.
They're different, kind of. They're part of the same direction. They're in the same vein.
One of them requires an extra step if you're using Bloomtender to initially find your Tyvar, but if you were using Selvala, there's like one less search that you have to do.
And Selvala is kind of great because Selvala means that if you have 11 mana and your Sisay is a 4 power, you can kind of win the game on the spot because you go find Selvala off the first 5 mana activation, and then off the second 5 mana activation, you go find Tyvar, which gives the Selvala haste, and that was 10 mana right there. And then the 1 extra mana, you activate Selvala. And at this point, hopefully you have 5 colors of stuff in play so that your Sisay is a 6-drop, which means that Selvala will tap for 6 mana, 5 of it for a Sisay activation, and that 1 green extra for that when you go get like a Derevi, you can activate again.
That's really easy to go infinite with that too. I feel like it's the same way with Gaia's Cradle and Agatha's Soul Cauldron then too, where like every time that you activate Sisay, your Gaia's Cradle's netting you 1 more mana. It's just so much easier to go infinite by the time you're ready to go infinite.
Right, yeah. And the lines are kind of different. Like the Gaia's Cradle one is pretty good at going instant speed because you can do it with Emil and you can win at instant speed. But if you're going with Bloom Tender and you only have exactly enough mana, like you don't have any extra mana afterwards, you need to finish the line with 3 extra mana to do the Emil thing at instant speed.
Right,
But if you make no extra mana with Tyvar, all you need is the Bloom Tender getting to tap for Wooburg. Once Bloom Tender can tap for Wooburg and you've gotten to Tyvar from there, you can win the game at that point.
That makes sense, yeah.
You don't need any additional mana.
Because a lot of those lines like need Tyvar to push his button to untap Bloom Tender, right?
Yeah, to start the untap chain.
Him being a planeswalker kind of makes you have to do that there, but I think that makes sense. That's really cool. Okay.
And another thing to note about Tyvar and Agatha's Soul Cauldron, which are very important parts of both of these combos, is like you said earlier, the main thing that you can do is kill the Bloom Tender. And if you kill the Bloom Tender, Agatha's Soul Cauldron and Tyvar both have ways to access Bloom Tender again. Basically,
I forget that Tyvar is basically just like you're silly for doing that button.
Yeah. One of the other Tyvar's activations is to mill 3 cards and get a 2-drop back from your graveyard, which can be a Bloom Tender. So it is right to get rid of the Bloom Tender right away. Sisay pilots will hate me for saying that, but that's the right thing. Don't get rid of the Sisay, just get rid of the Bloom Tender.
Get rid of the Bloom Tenders, yeah.
But keep in mind that if it's with a Bowmaster, they already want to go get Agatha's Soul Cauldron. They can go end step Agatha's Soul Cauldron, and now I have the ability to put +1/+1 counters on multiple of my creatures and have multiple creatures tap for Bloom Tender. So
that's pretty gross.
You might end up making it easier for me if you get rid of the Bloom Tender like at the wrong time.
So like what you have to do is like get rid of the Bloom Tender with a Rest in Peace in play.
Or just Swords to Plowshares or Exile or something. Exiling would be pretty good. There are other ways to win, but they all are roughly that. I think I mentioned the main ones of you need one of the mana makers, you need one of the untappers. There's obviously, I didn't talk about the Amanatu lines. There's another line with the Bolus and Oath of Teferi. I don't play that line anymore.
I
think it's
like
clunky.
It's fallen out of favor. The list that won a tournament this year did not run any of those lines. They run Ashiok Dream Renderer though instead.
That's what's the cool part about Sisay is like normally none of the lists run anything that's like interactive like that, but they could just sneak in a Narset. They could go for an Ashiok real quick.
This
and they
one's
could fuck
back
you all up.
on Urtai too, which means like they have an instant speed way to kill your thing or to counter a thing that you're doing.
And the Urtai is pretty crazy because if you have a Thassa's Oracle on the stack, Sisay can activate one time, go find Urtai, and force you to draw a card. That can be pretty neat.
Which is also very cool. Yeah, and the fact that it can counter abilities too. Any kind of ability. So like you're going to trick people when they think that there's nothing that anyone can do.
I don't play Urtai right now. There's just already too many 4-drops. I'm still playing Sakashima and then also Deadpool and Emil. I just can't justify playing more stuff. Realistically, Sisay's got to be low to the ground mana machine. I don't think it can be muddying around playing too many dead cards, too many interaction shit.
This is a very interactive list because it's also on Drana and Linvala, funnily enough, and it's also on Spider-Woman, Stunning Savior as well.
Spider-Woman's kind of neat. 2-mana legends that are 2 colors are super crucial for Sisay.
Especially when like they do something to interact with the board. And I know this isn't like a huge deal, but it's enough of a deal where if you play that on turn 1, you're Rogsai opponent going on turn 2 can't win as easily. It's something.
Yeah, no, I get it. I think one of the main goals for Sisay pilots a lot of times is just to survive until turn 4. You can pretty consistently win on turn 4, maybe turn 5 sometimes, but like you are consistent. The deck is pretty consistent, surprisingly so, but you just need to survive until turn 4.
That's the thing,
which is tricky. I have extra counter spells in my version. I'm playing Force of Negation right now. It feels kind of wrong, but
no, I feel like that's fair. This version's doing a way to survive just different. Like instead of playing Force of Negation, they're playing Spider-Woman instead.
Right, yeah. So I'm not sure which one is the right direction. The Spider-Woman I have seen a lot in decks, and I'm not sure. But Either way, Sisay's an awesome deck.
Sisay's an awesome deck. Well, those were the top 5 decks in cEDH. Yeah, and these are decks that you will definitely see in cEDH tournaments in that order as well, too. Sisay's just a little bit more difficult to pilot, but it's still insanely strong, so you'll still see it. And the people that are playing it are way more competent, I would think. It has a barrier to entry where you kind of have to get to know the deck, whereas like Kinnan, like we said, you can just sleeve up and go, oh, here we go to the LGS, and it's totally fine. You know, it's a little bit more of a learning curve. You have to kind of like know more than, oh, things tap for 2 mana and I just go burr, you know?
Yeah, Sisay definitely is a deck that rewards you for knowing your deck list in and out, for knowing what you can get at any moment, for knowing how much time you need and how much mana you'll make based off what your start looks like. Is this start actually good, or is it just going to result in you having 4 mana when you want to activate Sisay on turn 4 and not actually 5 mana? Maybe it's, you know what I mean? Like that math of thinking ahead of by turn 4, can I have a couple of Sisay activations going? It can be a little bit tricky. The deck is a little hard to play, but it's super rewarding. And like I said, it really rewards you as a player for knowing your deck inside and out.
And the only other thing that I'll say is that there are a lot of other decks that you will see in cEDH tournaments. Some decks that we both love. Some decks that we both love a little bit less.
Yeah.
However, there's a wide swath of things that you'll see. And just because we did not talk about them does not mean that they won't come up. You will run into weird brews that you've never heard and seen of before, but will open your eyes to other things that people are doing in this format. This is not the extent of what cEDH is. This is just the best and strongest of what cEDH is, which kind of makes it the best of what cEDH is.
It's the best. But there's so many. We didn't even talk about Magda. We didn't talk about Atali. We didn't talk about Rograkh Thrasios. There's so many other commanders that are like could sit at tables with these decks, and I would feel confident that they'd be able to win. Like, that are just about as powerful. They just don't have quite as many results. And going into this year, these decks seems like they're doing the best.
Yeah, and when we can only choose 5 to be in the top
These are the 5,
there's going to be some good stuff that's left off.
You have any other thoughts?
No.
Thanks so much for watching. If you'd like to support us directly, you can do so on Patreon, like our $100 Patreon.
Things MTG, Wandering Around, Mike H, Tom Bieber, Cumulative Upkeep MTG, Nathan Cohen, Mr. Turby, Okie Toad, Penguin Man 0089, Eli the Magic Guy, David Newman, Johnny Denver Omelet, Rocky Hall, Pat Fires, Frogman, Spangler, Larceny Roars, Your Boy Blue, Sparky B, S.C. Phillip, Olden Groupie, Zach Hartley, Big Legs Banjo, Reactive, Shaun of the Ice, The Works 472, Care Bear Garrett, Mace the Ace, Luke Cook, Connor Zipon, Joshua Day, Demon of Raspberries, Peter Stewart, Corno Wild, Uncle Butts, Luke Quajay Hamid, Scott Hawk, and Baby Jeebus.
If you want to pick up any of our merch, you can do that at playtowinmtg.com.
Thank you, Dragon Shield, for supporting the show. Use code PlayToWin5 at our affiliate link down below for 5% off.
Follow us on the internet for more content.
Thank you for watching.
See you next time.
Pay Me No Mind, Drew Adams, EXO, Sarge MTG, Rick, Sharticus, McSaucy, Max McComber, Meta, Ben Finelli, Jason Brooks, Safarius, Ono Frog, Ash Wayne, Vietnam 69, Sarcastic, Mystic Muffin Man, Zachary Coulson, Dalton Poteet, Jan Wildfang, Thomas Bueno, and David Nelson.